Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and we're reading Saturnastra. This is chapter 7. Yeah, it was 7. Fiero stands still. Year 7, month 3, day 19, 14 a.m. Laja would have told you that Undine should have hated Ahi for what he did to her, and indeed any regular woman would have spent her time plotting at his death. However, Undine, instead of hating Ahi, she grew to respect and admire him, and like Iago, she could not tell if Ahi was either a cretin or childish. One thing was certain, Ahi was completely out of his mind. And thanks to Ahi's beating, Undine went easier on Eleanor, and she devised new insidious methods of curbing what she perceived as Eleanor's bad habits. And by then Undine had groomed Eleanor into something that resembled a proper lady, and the metamorphosis had been astounding. And Eleanor was even more refined than a nice bride, and from time to time Eleanor would regress to her original habits when no one was looking, and still she corrected herself out of fear of getting reprimanded, and in the long run Undine modified her teaching skills along the lines of reward or no rewards, or reward or punishment of an innocent bystander. And an innocent bystander was often a cat or a doggy, and she would give the poor animal as a gift and allow Eleanor to fall in love with the poor critter, and then she would use it as a hostage to make Eleanor more obedient. And via this method, Eleanor began to associate the pain of others with her own failures. Even an incident as silly as a shell falling from a tree, Eleanor would imagine that it was her failure had brought about such a calamity. Needless to say, Eleanor's poor mind was wrecked beyond repair, and in response to this new turn of events, he sent a random note to Undine, and Undine saw on her destiny note, and when she opened it, she saw the odd colorful runes similar to the ones written on his robe, and guessing what the note was about made Undine worry. And at the time, he was trying to kidnap the horse Fiero, and he was tormenting the poor horse using Undine's animal poker, and mimicking Undine's voice, he said, "Stand still, Fiero." And Fiero in response said, "Leave me be, child. Whatever beef you have with Undine, leave me out of it." And he started poking the horse, and his eyes went blank for a moment. And Fiero took that moment to kick Ahi with both of his back legs, and the pain aroused Ahi from his reverie, and he started laughing as he always did whenever somebody struck him. And Fiero snorted and said, "A real lunatic." Ahi simply continued laughing in response, and in the sudden burst of curiosity, Fiero asked, "Where are your parents?" Ahi sat up and he gave a few vicious glances at Fiero, and in a strong, deep voice he said, "Mother." And the way he said this deeply perturbed Fiero, and again Fiero dared ask another question, "And your father?" His eyes suddenly watered in mimicry of another person, and he said in a girly voice as he ran out of the stable, "Oh, the father, how could you?" And this last offer left Fiero with far too many questions to answer, and indeed he had the airs of a raving lunatic, either by accident or by profession. Undine came into the stable as he was departing, and when he saw her, his mood changed and he started giggling. And Undine frowned when she saw he coming out of the stable, and she was relieved to see her horse Fiero more or less in one piece. She asked, "So what did he want?" "To poke me with a stick," commented Fiero with his thing. "Ew," said Undine, seeing the stick among the straw. And she picked up the stick and played with it in the air as if it was a sword. And Fiero watched the entire progress and did not comment, and Undine gave a sigh of exasperation and exited the stables, and she saw outside Ahi playing at the edge of a low fence by walking and jumping back and forth while maintaining his balance. At the end of the fence, a cat was watching him with disdain, and whenever he would draw near, the cat would scratch at the folds of his robes. And the cat was an odd-eyed Turkish van, and he had one blue eye and the other amber, and his coat was pure snowy white, and his tail was long and fluffy, and he had the appearance of a one-year-old cat. And when it comes to cats, even with our technology, it is impossible for us to determine their age. And the cat's name was Van, and he was followed by 13 siblings to the world of Saturnastra without them knowing, and he was curious about the world which was built for the sole purpose of creating magic users. So far Van was not impressed, and for the time being Van was amusing himself by trying to scratch at the end of his robes. Undine saw it, and I just noticed something grimly amusing, and it takes months for the kid to recognize a problem and come up with a solution. Indeed, he is a slow madman. Then again, a being which lived for a long time will have a different time schedule than the rest of us mere mortal. This and many other times ran in Undine's mind. Undine sat on the fence and continued musing a little longer, and by now she had given up on educating him, and she was also starting to fear his slow-burning retribution. Though he took forever to come up with a solution, the solution he always concocted was always the most sinister. And at times Undine wondered if the royal being had been nothing but a nightmare, and she was only convinced that it had occurred whenever she ran into his dragon friends, who would chase after her with a stick. And since that incident, Undine avoided the feral dragon forest like the plague. How she loathed the fact that they have opposable tongue, which allowed them to grab objects or people. And this was a trait unique to feral dragons. And he sat beside Undine and started gibbering. And Undine pouted her lips and asked the question in the back of her mind, and she did not even hope for a definite answer. Tell me, what are you really? Are you even human? Are you a dragon or demon? We are what we became of the humans from planet Earth, said he with unusual eloquence. And Undine was unnerved by his answer, and she used to think that he was nothing more than a madman, and in the back of her mind she feared that he was something much worse. And it also did not humor her the way he was suddenly speaking of himself in plural. Who are you? You are not like the other child, said Undine as she was taken aback. And he replied with his newly found eloquence, Castor, one of the Gemini twins. And why are you telling me this? Asked Undine a little on edge. No reason, I am just bored. Gotta enjoy the few minutes a week when I am in control, continued Castor. Huh? Answered Undine, even more confused. Wow, said he, looking concerned. And Undine sat a moment, and then she relaxed, and then she went back to sit next to him, and her intuition suddenly told her that he was harmless for the moment. At least she imagined her intuition was telling her that. However, she was still under the influence of Castor, and his persona still lurked in the surface of his psyche. And Castor had an uncertain charm which inspired maternal feelings in woman. And Castor smiled at her when she returned to his side, and Undine's heart skipped a beat. And she was starting to feel something she had never felt before, and for a teacher, Undine had never felt any maternal warmth or love for her charge. And she felt disdain for maternal roles and mothers in general. And Undine had relegated all of her bastards to her slaves, and she felt a special disdain for her own mother, for her kindness, for her weakness. And Castor observed her with his childlike simplicity, and he knew how he was messing with Undine, and he enjoyed every second of it. He was about to call Undine mother to complete his charms, but he did not allow him. And Castor simply shrugged his shoulders and returned to bask in his own magnificence. And with his departure, Undine returned to being a jerk. Undine was thoughtful for a few moments, and then she concluded that her maternal feelings had been a lie. And she was somewhat annoyed at Castor for manipulating her. And in the end, she concluded that he was akin to my Duke. And then she said to he, I am going home. I will teach Eleanor about money before departing, and she should be able to handle things on her own from here on out. And as for you, you have been a worthy rival, and my only regret was that I failed to break you. And he gave Undine his usual warm and inviting smile. And then he said more gibberish. Ah, yes, I see it, Undine continued. Now I understand why I'm not able to break you. You are my two brothers, the brother of the boy who came to save this godforsaken world. And he shook his head and shrugged his shoulders, and he could see past my Duke's good intentions. No, my Duke had not come to save the world. Undine observed his mannerisms and wondered, and she knew that he had spoken the truth. However, she could not tell which statement he had said no to. And she was certain of one thing, however, he was indeed my Duke's younger brother. Still, a foreboding thought was in the back of her mind. Many years would pass before she would realize the full implication behind such a thought and what it meant for the future, or lack thereof, of Veraguero. A dark cloud was literally hanging over her head, and a single raindrop fell on Undine's nose. And the prophet of the coming storm made her forget about Marduk, and she said to he while getting up, It's going to rain soon, we should head back. And he simply gazed at the sky with dazed eyes, and he seemed to be lost in thought. And Undine gave her hand to he who in turn kissed it, and Undine took a firm grip in his hand and then said, It is going to rain soon, honey, let's go home. And he allowed Undine to get him back to Iago's home, and he also took the cat along with him. And he wrapped the cat beneath the folds of his robes to keep it out of the rain. A downpour followed seconds later, and Undine started running ahead while getting home, and something about the scene and the way he laughed reminded Undine of her own mother. Jessie had been on a rainy day just like this when Undine had killed her mother, and the memory of that day made Undine laugh as well. Alright, that's the end of that chapter. Bye-bye and God bless.